So I always think one of the ways you can tell if you've had a good life is coming up on the end of it, toward the end of it. You look back and you have a lot of wonderful memories of adventures and things you own, places you've been, things you've done with your friends, trips you've been on, maybe motorcycles that you've owned, model railroads that you've built, model airplanes that you've flown. But in my case, I'm 79 years old, and I look back at the days, and to me these are the days of wine and roses, when we were all consumed by two-stroking, and Jimmy's Silver Bullet, among others. Mark Morgan, his collection of two-strokes. These were wonderful days to be alive and great, great memories.
Right on this WRD. Woo!
Back in this time, it seemed like the most exciting thing we ever did. We got a bunch of two-strokes together, and there'd always be somebody that didn't have a two-stroke. Of course, we'd ride with them, but it was the two-strokes that always stole the show. Here's a great memory. I had Gavin's mix up a gallon of what I call the Yama Yellow. And back in the day, a gallon of paint, right now it's probably 10 times as much. But I remember I painted 3 RDs with it and the FCR. So for a gallon of paint, that was pretty good. But they all matched, and everybody back then loved the Ladders paint job. The one I made for Luciano that had a GS 1100E tank, that was something we didn't know fit as well as it did until we tried it. I painted it up with Ladders, and he was happy to have that extra range.
Everything else is good except the fucking...
Yeah.
And it's just
the breather hose. See where the breather
But this one, when we did this seat, it's on one of the videos, this seat was really difficult to do. Getting that curve and getting that curve in the back, it was really a lot of work. One of my favorite memories was of Jimmy, and Jimmy did a great job on this 350. We used to call it the Silver Bullet. He used to ride the wheels off of this with us. Had nice expansion chambers on it. Beautiful paintwork. He did it all himself. And one day we were riding, and his throttle cable, I think, came apart at the seams or stuck wide open or whatever it did. I remember having to take the bike all apart to get the tanks, get the tank off and get the throttle cable wired together. A really good memory. And we also had back then a group of two-strokes. We used to love to ride basically from Rockwell North up into the Moodna area and beyond sometimes. But the roads up there, for anybody who's never ridden there, absolutely beautiful, beautiful. So tell me the whole story. Atlanta's good? Karen wants to know.
It's one of those bless your heart type of places. You spend
Have you joined the Baptist church yet?
You look at anybody for 2 seconds, that's their cue to tell you the whole life story.
Oh, jeez.
I just left North Carolina. I know what you're saying.
Exactly. I literally was eating
So Bobby's here from Atlanta, but I don't know the whole story. We got to get it. Quite a few bikes here. Now, another great memory I have, when we would get the two strokes together, one of the things, Mark Morgan was really, really good riding two strokes, and he had several of them. And Luciano got the NS 250 from Mark. I think Mark still has his original one, and he's got this Suzuki that's a two-stroke too. And so what would happen is we'd meet up with Mark somewhere on the road or at Perkins or wherever, and then he'd take us on his favorite roads. Now, he thought he was fooling us. He knew these particular roads like the back of his hand, and because we were from outside, well, we were a little bit more hesitant to really get on it. If you look at some of the runoffs on these roads, they're not too great. One of the runoffs, it actually is the Hudson River. Another unforgettable memory. I mean, you couldn't make this up. When Luciano and Turbo Steve had an H1 that was, let's say it was needing a little work. And I've made a separate, this is on more than one video, I know that, how bad the parts were when he got them. Well, he did this amazing restoration. And when I got to ride this bike the first time, we were in the park, it was basically empty. And I said, you know, I remember the H1s back in the day. They were not the greatest handling bike. So I was real cautious with it. But halfway through the ride, I said, well, let's find out. You know, since I had painted it, if I drop it, I'm going to paint it over again anyway. Don't tell Luciano I said that. But anyway, this was a really nice bike. He still has it in his collection. In the course of doing it, he wound up getting more than one spare engine. There's enough parts to make 2 more bikes, I think. But he got an extra set of bodywork, and I thought that was the coolest thing, because we were doing Evil Twins back then too. All of my bikes that are Evil Twins, I was doing the same thing. I'd get another set of bodywork, make the set of bodywork a different color, and it was like you had 2 separate bikes. But in the case of the H1, having 2 sets of bodywork, just a fantastic, fantastic memory. About the only sad thing that I remember about this era is several of the people we rode with wound up in a ditch. Without mentioning any names, but during this time we had more than an average amount of visiting the ditch, I call it. Anyway, that's probably not the best memory. And this was back in the day when we had parts from 4 or 5 different motorcycles in my shop. We were painting a bike every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. We had some for, there were times we had some for Luciano, for Glenn, for Mark Morgan, Turbo Steve. We had stuff in the garage. We had stuff hanging up in the Jots Purple Ducati. It was a wonderful time to remember. And I remember what always was the best thing. After a long day of working on bikes and painting and spray painting and whatever, just to jump on that 2-stroke and run up to Luciano, see what he was doing, and we'd head up to the park or head up to Rockwell Ducati. Such absolutely fabulous, fabulous memories. And just another thing, I remember Scott when he was working on his RZ 350, this is an 85, we were corresponding pretty much every day, and he had the whole engine apart. He's a real mechanic. He did a total restoration of the engine, had done a lot of polishing and cleanup. Check out the wheels on this and the exhaust. Every part of this was immaculate. We had a meetup up by Rockwell Ducati. We went out on a road, did a photo shoot, and we've become, I hope, lifelong friends because of Two Strokes. And even to this day, every time I see a picture of this bike or I get an email from Scott, it is just one more beautiful two-stroke memory. This is a day I remember well, and this is really funny that I have these old pictures. Ray was up here from Florida. I had just finished the restoration on this bike, and this is my original race bike. I was turning it over to Ray on that day, so we went for a ride, switched bikes, did our usual thing up 106. And of course, when we got to the top of the mountain, this was back in the day when Perkins was the primary place to meet on the weekends. Too bad it isn't that way now, but it was great back then. And one of the things I remember is a whole group of guys with modern bikes, none in particular, came over and they were looking at this black bike and saying, "What is that? Holy mackerel, what is that?" And Ray was trying to explain to them that it's a two-stroke. They had never seen a two-stroke. What's a two-stroke? And, you know, they wanted to hear it run, and oh my God, it was really funny. And you can't believe that people that are riding motorcycles would have no idea at all what a two-stroke is. And the memories that you have, I think, that I have that are the best, of days we had a whole bunch of two-strokes together, had a meetup, had a ride together, let Mark ride through the areas that he knew real well. I'd ride through the areas I knew. I'd lead the ride. He'd lead the ride. There were just so many memorable, great days to remember forever. I'm so glad I shot a lot of pictures back then and some video of us, because we're all older now. But every one of us, one thing in common, we all still remember the two-strokes. Another great memory is we'd always stop either before or after the ride at Luciano's, especially on a hot day, cool off down in his shop and see what he was working on. And he was always working on some, back in this time, some two-stroke project. He always had more than one going. And he still had his TZ250 race bike, number 54. We did so many track days with that bike. Just wonderful, wonderful memories. Best memories I have is anytime you'd go up to Perry's and the Ducati dealer, the Rockwell Ducati, there'd always be somebody up there. A car would be up there. He had a whole bunch of two-strokes. We ran into this gentleman. He had a beautifully restored, or I think maybe even not restored, a Kenny Roberts RZ. We wound up spending time with Scott. Scott came down with his RZ. We did a photo shoot. We did a ride day. The company of having two-strokes, when you meet another guy with a two-stroke, it just, you almost have an instant bond. It's like you're a long-lost brother or something. I don't know how to explain it. It happens, though. And we always have some funny conversations. Luciano had RZs, so he was asking this guy some questions and giving him some advice, which I guess RZ owners are a little different. I've never had an RZ. I've had all air-cooled bikes. I've not had a water-cooled two-stroke yet, so maybe in my future. And I know Dale got his RZ. I did some work on his RZ. We've got that video out on the channel. And just the world of two-strokes. It just seems like it's a little world within a world of motorcycling, and it seems like the people are always friendly, and at the end of the day, at the end of every day, you always have a great memory. And when Ray took the black RD350 that I restored back to Florida, I worked on this bike. I got a 400. I did a complete restoration. I did everything I possibly could, bought extra parts for it, exhaust system, seats, wheels, polished the engine, spent endless hours tuning it, put new carburetors on it. This is one of the biggest labor of loves in my life, was this bike. And to this day, I go out to the garage, it starts on the first kick. It is, there's no way to describe it. Now, it just seems to me a funny thing too is as two-strokes get rarer and rarer out on the open road, you still see them. At least by us, there's still a few around. But as they get rarer and rarer, they get more collectible, and the people that really want them seem willing to pay top dollar for them. And I don't know how that affects the camaraderie between two-stroke owners, because I know for sure that all of the people that own two-strokes, they have a love in their heart for them. It isn't a casual thing. It isn't something you can just not be involved in. And especially if you've restored one like Luciano has. Well, I've restored several of them for other people and for myself. There is a passion involved. There's a commitment required. But boy, at the end of it, the day you get all your friends together and they're all in one group or one meetup, and all those Kickstarters start going and all that smoke starts flowing, it's just hard to explain to people that don't share that passion. And I hope if you're watching this, you really do share that passion. So if you have a passion for two-strokes, I am sure one thing, you probably have some pretty special memories too. And I hope you've enjoyed sharing some of mine. Now, these are just a few of many years, many adventures. A lot of them are out on our channel. You can use the playlist to find various ones. But the most important thing that I always try to convey to people that enjoy two-strokes, if you lived in the time of two-strokes when they ruled the world, and they really did at one time, what's special about it? It means something that it's hard to describe. It means you lived in a wonderful time of life. And I think it's a true thing that people my age, I'm 79, we lived, I was born the day World War II ended, by the way. We lived in a time when there was so much enthusiasm for motorcycles. New bikes were coming out constantly. They hadn't even invented radar guns yet. And gas was cheap. And back then, it just was a special time to be friends with other motorcyclists and go on all-day rides and go on just incredible adventures. And I am so fortunate and so lucky to have shared my life with other people who share my passion. Hopefully, I think, if you're still watching this video, you're probably one of them. Think about it. Think about it long and hard. We lived in a wonderful time. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.